This man, in order to bring back his wife who died in a car accident, built her a machine body. As for her consciousness, he purchased a 3-year preservation service from an archive company, which allowed them to communicate just like when she was alive, only she didn't know she was already dead. But every time he uploaded her consciousness into the robot, incompatibility occurred, and her consciousness could never properly adapt to the mechanical body. During this time, he borrowed techniques from the archive company and developed 2 robots. Robot number 1 was the first prototype, childlike in personality, fond of watching cartoons. Robot number 2 had the intelligence of a 16-year-old and could help George with some simple tasks. When staff from the archive company came to George's home to routinely check the storage of his wife's consciousness, the results showed her signal was getting weaker. Once it disappeared completely, his wife would face true death. George decided to speed up the development of robot number 3, but number 2, like a rebellious teenager, grew jealous of the attention George gave to number 3 and occasionally caused small damage to get George's attention, until one day, when number 3 went missing, George searched everywhere. He finally found it in a cabinet in the lab, but number 3 went berserk, grabbed George by the throat, and kept questioning whether it was merely a substitute for George's wife. After George calmed number 3 down, he learned that number 2 had told number 3 about his wife. As punishment, George shut number 2 down, then dismantled its legs, altered and reshaped them, attached them to number 3, and completed a perfect hardware upgrade for number 3. When number 2 woke up and realized its legs had been replaced, it was deeply saddened. Although George promised to build it a new pair of legs soon, it no longer mattered. When number 2 saw George dancing with number 3, it quietly left behind its cherished pendant and walked into the lake. Since George couldn't find number 2, he buried its belongings instead. After a brief moment of mourning, only number 1 remained by the gravestone. Later, when George received a call from his wife's consciousness, the signal was unstable. George planned to finally upload her consciousness into number 3, but number 3 could not accept it. It pointed a gun at George, yet couldn't pull the trigger, because it was programmed after George's wife. In the end, number 3 put down the weapon and silently allowed George to inject his wife's consciousness into its brain. When number 3 woke again, George thought he could finally reunite with his wife. But then the phone rang once more with his wife's consciousness on the line, leaving George confused. Hadn't her consciousness already been transferred into number 3? Then who was on the phone? Number 3 urged him not to answer, but George still picked up. On the call, his wife said goodbye, because George's archive service was about to expire. It turned out it wasn't his wife who died in the car accident, it was George. After the call ended, his wife walked out of the archive company carrying George's consciousness module, while the lab and the robots were nothing but products of George's consciousness.